Hey guys, welcome joining us a call. I'm really excited. I have one of my dear friends, somebody I've known for a long time, somebody I've certainly served in different positions to help chiropractic and colleges and students and people, as long as other associations. Former president of the IFCO and certainly a really good friend of mine, Dr. Shane Walker. And Dr. Walker is going to be one of our speakers here in Syracuse on September 25th and 26th. He's just opened a new office. He's done some massive changes. He's got a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of expertise, a lot of ideas on how to grow your practice, attract people, change the mindset of your practice, and so forth. So I wanted to spend just a couple of minutes with him today on the call, just to have him kind of share an overview of what he's going to talk about in Syracuse, explain to you what's really important, give you some ideas, maybe a couple of ideas as to what you can plug into your practice, and to get the full picture, certainly the full story. We're gonna have a lot of fun with him here in Syracuse, New York. So, Dr. Shane, how am I coming in?
Loud and clear. Sounds good.
Loud and clear. How's things going down there in Florida?
It's good. It's great. You know, it's September, so another few weeks it'll start cooling off a little bit.
Yeah.
It was 95 degrees today in Naples. So
I love the sign you got there. I know you got to just dive to the side. Give me a little head slip, but you got Thrive Chiropractic. It's a beautiful sign. So.
Thanks much.
So, Dr. Shane, tell me a little bit about what's going on. I know you're real excited about some things you've done and some ideas that you've implemented. So,
well, I'll tell you, I'm real excited about coming up there. You know, it's been a couple of years since I've been up to. Well, obviously, I've seen you often, but it's been a couple of years since I've been up for one of your in-office trainings. And I remember being on the phone a couple of years ago when I came. You invited me up to speak at your training, and I spent the weekend with you. And I remember getting on the phone with a couple of friends after, and this isn't lip service, Joe, but telling a couple of friends, say, listen, what you have going on in Syracuse with Chiropassion, with the way that you mentor the people you work with, the in-office trainings, is like, I remember telling a buddy of mine saying, this guy doesn't even know what he has, as far as the level that you're serving your doctors with. So I'm excited to be up there the 25th and 26th of this month for your training, and just soaking it all up, and leaving with some new strategies as well as a new mindset. And you know, we live in an outside-in world, you know, and so sometimes the team is outside in. We know the patients are outside in. Sometimes our family is outside in. We know that once we walk out the doors of the office, we're living in an outside-in world. Man, I'll tell you, we've got to go do stuff like what you're doing on the 25th and 26th. To keep the mind prime, man. It's like church for chiropractic. You got to have it.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
So we're excited to be up there with you.
Awesome. Well, we're honored to have you, as you know. So, you know, Shane, just to interrupt you, one of the nicest memories I have, the best memories, is when we spoke at Sherman under the tent. I think I told you, you know, one of those moments in your life that changes your life. I spoke at Sherman, or I was a student. To chiropractic philosophy. I had graduated chiropractic school, and I went down there to listen to Reggie Gold, and I listened to him speak under a tent. You know, so to be in the opposite position, to stand in front of, you know, a couple hundred people, and be in that position to help lead and mentor people, certainly a testament to Reggie and testament to Tom Gilardi and Lyle Sherman and BJ and so forth. But you know, there was three of us, me, you, and Liam, and it was just a wonderful experience that I had. That it just went so well, and I'll always remember that as one of my favorite times I spoke. So
likewise. Yeah. So it's funny you mentioned Reggie, because I know you want me to talk a little bit about, just to prime what we're going to discuss in Syracuse.
Yeah.
You know, one of my biggest memories when Reggie turned 80. So this is quite a while ago, when Reggie had the IFCO put on a thing in Philly for his 80th birthday, and it was a dinner party type of thing, but there was also a little mini seminar. And Reggie did a Q&A at the end, and somebody asked him, said, "Hey, you know, when you were in practice, you did big things. How'd you pull it off? What's the one thing that you would say that kept you fired up and fresh?" And I was surprised to hear this, because Reggie was somebody he was so convicted about his objective in chiropractic. His answer was, he said, I constantly was recreating myself.
Yeah.
That's surprising coming out of him.
Yeah.
And he said, I wasn't recreating myself as far as my objective in chiropractic, what I was doing, but I was always recreating myself mentally, in the practice, on a number of different levels. So, about 6 months ago, we built out this new office. For 14 years, I was in a 2-doctor office. We practiced together. And for a number of different reasons, but one of the big reasons was that the parking. In Florida, it's hard to get quote-unquote medical parking, and people were parking across the street. It was just no longer working for a 2-doctor office. So we built out this new space, and I said, you know what, I'm going to look at this thing. Even though all the patients, it was the same patients in the new facility, but it was a new facility and a new opportunity. And I remember what Reggie had said, that night on his 80th birthday. I said, let's recreate ourselves here somehow. And so I started reading, looking at all these different things. And a couple of things I want to share with you real quick here, Joe, and people that are watching. And we're going to elaborate on this more in Syracuse. Beginning to change the mindset that we don't need the new patients.
Yeah.
Right. And it's not a cliche, but they need us.
Right.
And they need us really freaking bad.
Right.
Like, really bad. And coming to this understanding that, when I walk in to Joe Borio's office, Joe Borio is the prize.
Right.
Right. Joe Borio is the prize. I'm the prize. You as the chiropractor, you are the prize. And there's value there. And the great thing about it is there's always a market for value. There's always a market for value. And so we wanted to really raise the value and the respect and the level of reverence for what a chiropractic adjustment was when we only moved a half mile into the new facility, but we really wanted to raise that bar. And a few things that we did. Number one, and I also learned this from you. Whereas I've heard you coaching your people before, where you say, "Hey, listen, figure out how many people you want to see in a week and work backwards to get there."
Right.
And you may have said it differently. So I said, that's something we never really did before. We set some short-term goals.
Right.
And we always said, I want to see a boatload of people. I want to go to this number or that number. But I really never sat down and said, okay, this is the number of people that I want to see per week. And at that point, it sounds weird for a chiropractor to say, but at that point, we're cutting it off.
Correct.
Okay? And again, this is a thinking that people that come from your world and my world, we don't normally think about.
Correct.
I said, okay, let's set a number, at least for now, that we want to see this many people a week. It's blowing the top off the place for us at our level. And let's get there and then freeze it. Let's really try to create something that is somewhat like a waiting list practice. I mean, that's a term that had been thrown around for years, but nobody really has one, So let's see if we can pull that off short term. So we did that. We set the number that we wanted to be at. We bumped our fees up a little bit. We constantly trained with the team on the value of an adjustment. And we became more selective with who we took as a new practice member, a new patient, and and we changed our terminology in our new patient consultations. Now we go in and we let them know that here's what we're going to do today to evaluate your spine and nervous system, and this is all geared towards helping us make a decision if yours is a case that we're going to be able to accept. Like, there's a different way of thinking, And then when we come into the reports, we do group reports like you do and your guys do. When we walk into the rooms and do the private x-ray report, we've been telling you, listen, we go through the x-ray report, we go through the recommendations, the way we do it, and we say, listen, before we accept your case, I just want to let you know we accept only these many new patients per week, and I really want to go through what it's going to look like to help get you well before we accept your case to make sure you can commit to that. So it's just changed the whole thinking as far as, we're the prize.
Right.
They really do need us, and so I'm going to go into that a little bit deeper when I get up there, but we've gotten to the point where we've hit that number that we wanted to be at, and I haven't voted this yet, but we hit that number. And so we're actually, and this sounds odd, but we're actually beginning to schedule people out now.
Right.
New patient-wise. If for nothing else, just to change the mindset of the staff and myself.
Sure.
So that's the first thing. And then the second thing I want to get into real quick here. Several authors lately, I've been doing a lot of reading, and several authors have been talking about a thing called 10x thinking.
Yes. Yeah. I got the book.
Okay, great. So the book, and then there's other people are grabbing it, talking about it as well. It's pretty amazing. And so 10x thinking teaches you to ask crazy questions about yourself and your life and your business. For example, if you wanted to double your quality of life without making any extra money, how would you do it? Another example would be, how do I cut the volume of business down that I do in half, but make twice as much money? Those would just be some examples. So when we opened the new practice, I said, okay, here's the crazy 10x question that we set. I said, okay, we want to save this much money in a year, right? This is the goal that we had set. And then I read the book, and then I go, no, okay, what do we need to do to save it in 6 months?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Just this crazy thinking. And the crazy thing about it is, so end of September will be the first 6 months since we moved in the new location. And we'll hit it by the third week of this month.
Right.
We'll have that year savings in 6 months. So I guess the reason I bring this up, you're going to have me talk about new patient acquisition and that, but this type of stuff needs to be laid down first.
Absolutely. One of the things you learn as time goes on, and I'm 50, and you start to reflect upon other people. Everyone has the same 24 hours in a day that somebody else does. So granted, there's certain people that had a different start or a different approach, and I get that. But you can also, for everyone, you can pick out and say, hey, this guy was brought up in this family, and this guy had those connections, or this woman had those connections, whatever. You can pick another woman or guy out that lived in some slum or some bum or some really bad area that had nothing, and they're at that same level of success. So when you look at the other person up the street, rather than looking at them with jealousy or envy or frustration, I look at them and say, wow, you know what? I'm going to let them lead me. They got the same 24 hours. They're obviously doing something different. When you look at a chiropractor and you say, man, that woman or guy is doing something better, they're doing something different. They're doing something better. It doesn't make you a bad person. They're doing something better, more effective, more profitable, more efficient in their 24 hours than you are. And we need that thirst and hunger within the profession to say, listen, I'm going to look at that person as a good person, and I want to say, hey, what the hell are you doing? Because I want to do that well, if not better. And that's what you're doing, obviously. That mindset asks you to look inward rather than outward, which is so chiropractic anyway. So
yeah, it's supposed to be.
yeah. Awesome. And talk to me. The theme of this event is how to build the practice of your dreams. So when we talk about that, I look at you and I see you. You immediately you start talking about the office and you're smiling, you're excited, you become animated. Tell me what benefit there is. I mean, I know it and you know it, but for people listening, what's the benefit of having, a better office, in the sense of an office that fits your dreams, an office that you set out goals and you achieve? What's the benefit? How does that trickle in other areas of your life?
Well, here's the thing. I was talking to another buddy of mine a couple weeks ago about this, and we were talking about just life, from marriage to kids to family and all this stuff. And I said to him, whether this is right or wrong, and it's probably wrong, but whether it's right or wrong, the reality is, as chiropractors, how happy, fulfilled, and successful we are in practice, unfortunately, really does, to a large extent, dictate how we're doing in other areas.
100%.
And again, it probably shouldn't be like that, but the reality is there's very different, for a solid chiropractor, there's not much difference between his practice life and his personal life.
Correct, I agree.
At least there shouldn't be.
Yeah, I agree.
And so, listen, if you want the kids to prosper, if you want the marriage to prosper, if you want, to have a lot of fun outside of practice, you damn well better figure out a way to have fun in the practice.
Exactly.
And when I was in Sweden a while back at an event, speaking at an event, and we were at my friend Andreas. We were at Andreas's office. And in Sweden, they have a tradition every day. They have a thing that they call pika breaks in Sweden, which is everybody sits down in an office or family or whatever it is, and they have these coffees and these little Swedish treats and these sort of things, and you talk about the day. In fact, at any point in a business in Sweden, a manager or owner will say, hey, we're stopping, let's have a pika break. Right? It's kind of a neat thing. So we kind of started doing that sort of thing in the office as well. At the end of the shift.
Yeah.
Right? Now, we've all done huddles for years pre-shift, but we do these little pika breaks at the end of some of the shifts. And we say, listen, okay, what were the victories today? What inspired you? What bummed you out? What was an irritant? What successes did we have? We kind of just talk through some things. And it just makes for a more fun environment.
Yeah.
Like the staff is happier because, you're not just this maniac that comes in and blows through 150 adjustments in a day, 200 adjustments in a day, and then runs out the office. But you actually sit down with them. It doesn't take more than 3 minutes. And so, it bleeds over. If you're having fun and looking for ways to do these sort of things in the office, life gets better outside. It really does.
Sure does. Yeah, one of the things we always say is, the better, the same idea, the better your practice is, the better your life is, the better your life is, the better your practice is. And one of the other things you realize when you look at chiropractors, I call them super successful, the chiropractors that are really super successful. And I don't mean just a financial standpoint. I mean, in many areas, you'll find that it's really difficult to see the delineation between the practice and their life, and that's essentially what you're saying. I'm not a chiropractor, and then the bell goes off at 6 o'clock. I go home, and now I'm not a chiropractor. I'm over there talking. I just got done coaching football, and they got all these state rules and regulations, so I can't really talk chiropractic to the kids. So I'm over there talking to the coaches. One's got some lower back, the other one's got allergies. We got into a big chiropractic talk before I came over here. So you can't separate one from the other. And when you find that the joy and the happiness that you're having is equal in all areas, you can't differentiate between work and play, because they both, they're both the same. And that's really what you're talking about, which is awesome.
You know about that is, I hear you, Joe, but there's people that listen to you say stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you know what chiropractors say? They go, you know what? I just don't want to have to be on all the time. I don't want to have to be like, can I just be a human being and not a chiropractor all the time? Or why do I have to have a focus and a vision and all this kind of mumbo jumbo just to have a successful, happy life? And people look at living like the way you do chiropractically and being focused and driven and setting goals and doing all these things. They look at it as a lot of work.
Yes.
And look at it as a grind and a hard way to live.
Sure.
But I think certainly what and what people will experience once they give it a shot of having a purpose, having a vision, letting chiropractic bleed into your whole life.
Yes.
It's actually easier to live like that.
Correct. Sure it is.
Because you're not going, at the end of the month, well, crap, we only saw...
right, exactly.
Now I got to go figure out a way on October 1st to blow the business up.
Right.
That sucks. That's tiring, and that goes nowhere.
Exactly right.
So it's a lot easier doing it the way you're doing it.
Well, exactly. And not only that, I mean, how do we know that? Because, Tony Robbins, one guy that I was talking about, one of my favorite quotes is, if you want to be successful, model success. So here's an idea. Let's step back and look at people who do really well. It doesn't even have to be chiropractic. People who do really well in life. And those people are goal-driven. They have an idea. They have a vision. They have a purpose. So that's number one. Number two, a real simple way to explain that in a pragmatic fashion. Shane, you're coming up to New York. Let's say you land in Syracuse, but you want to go to my office, but you have no roadmap. You have no destination. You know that you want to go to maybe a certain area, which is most chiropractors get up in the morning and say, well, I just want to see more people. I want to make more money. I want to be busier. But if you don't have a delineated spot, if you don't have a specific location, then you're going to have a hard time getting there. So you put a roadmap out, you punch it in the GPS, and you say, hey, listen, I want to go to Joe Borio's office at 8212 Brewerton Road. Guess what? The amount of mistakes, errors, the time it takes you to get there, the wrong turns, the wasted time, the wasted energy, the wasted gas, all that becomes less. So it's a freer way to live. It's not a more constrained way to live, more successful way to live. And in the end, I mean, the real tragedy, if you suck, and I know you know this, but the real tragedy is the people you're not serving. I mean, that's the tragedy. It isn't me. I mean, if you make 50 grand a year, maybe for some people that's going to be life-changing. But for the average doc who's doing well, the 50 grand or whatever, you pay half of it in taxes, you got to, it's not massively life-changing. But what that is an indication to how effective you are in that community, how healthy that area. Hey, listen, the more successful you are in practice, I got a good win for you. The healthier your community is. You know what I mean? Because you're doing well, you're serving more people. There's no negative on that. So
no, for sure.
Good stuff, man. I'll tell you, I'm really excited to have you out here. Any last thoughts here, parting thoughts? I know you're shooting out to dinner with your lovely family, so.
Yeah, no, not really. I'm hearing what you're saying, and the thing is people will hear this and they'll go, well, I know I'm a good chiropractor. I know I adjust well. I know I care about people. And I know where I want to be, but I just don't have a clue how to do it.
Sure.
And they look at a guy like you or any other leader in the profession, and they think, oh, this guy's just an outlier. He's
right.
It's really not like that. I mean, you follow any of the people around that you and I hang out with for 24 hours, and you realize that we have seasons where we suck really bad.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But, I look at it kind of like when you learn to ride a bike. When I was riding motorcycles a lot, my wife would make me go do the the rider safety course every year just to keep it fresh in my mind. And there'd always be brand new people that had never been on a motorcycle. And they'll teach them, they'll say, listen, don't look down at the tire, look down the street where you want to go, pick a spot on the road, and your brain will just get you there.
Absolutely.
And that's kind of the way I look at what you guys do in the office with the in-office trainings is, what this will do for that guy that knows he's a great chiropractor that just isn't getting there on his own, it'll help him pick that spot.
Absolutely.
And so I'm sure that there'll be some fresh people. In fact, I just got off the phone. When we get off, I'll tell you, with a couple guys that I'm going to bring with me.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So we're excited to hang out with you and see what you're doing up there and get some good training.
Yeah, Shane, what you said, in my last moments as well is exactly that. I mean, I think when you look at a lot of docs, I think their frustration is, you get people up on stage and they say, well, you need to do more. You need to sacrifice. There's a lot of docs out there that are working really hard. But, if you're not, doing it as well, there's a way to communicate that's better than the way you're doing it. It doesn't mean you're a bad guy. You got to get that ego out of the way. It doesn't mean that there are people out there, believe it or not, that are doing it better. And when I say better, that doesn't mean they're better. It means they're doing something more effective. So there's other people out there that handle their finances better. There's other people out there that communicate better. There's other people out there that have a more specific adjustment. There's other people out there that manage their office or market their office and so forth. So, to work with a team of people that say, listen, here's what we're trying to grow. There's the vision, just like you said on the motorcycle. That's where I want to go. And these are the other skill sets that I need to be there. You can be the greatest adjuster in the world, but if you can't communicate chiropractic, you're going to be a lonely doctor, And unfortunately, a lot of docs, they don't get that. So we need to work on that skill set. That's why we have these mentoring programs, and that's why I'm honored to have you there. You got so much to share and so much great experience.
I can't wait to get up there, get plugged in again.
All right, brother. Listen, thanks for joining on the call with me today, and go have a wonderful dinner with your lovely family. Enjoy that beautiful Florida weather, and I am going to see you with a big hug on September 25th, right in Syracuse. Sorry, I didn't mean to panic you there.
No, it's okay. We're good to go. I'll be there, man.
All right, brother. Talk to you soon.
Okay, bye.
Best friend gave me the best.